This time, Islamic Secret will reveal the story of a Canadian scientist who converted to Islam after conducting research on errors in the Quran. The Quran is the holy book that Allah revealed to the Prophet Muhammad as a blessing and guidance for people who believe and are pious. This can be seen by anyone who follows the instructions of the Quran. They will gain glory, safety, and happiness both in this world and in the afterlife. However, there are some people who do not believe in its authenticity and want to find mistakes in the Quran, as experienced by a scientist and Christian missionary named Dr. Gary Miller is a scientist at the University of Toronto, Canada, who is very interested in the field of logic and logistics. Apart from being a member of the expert council at his university, he is also active as a Christian missionary. As a missionary, he is worried about seeing the flow of Islam in the West, which continues to strengthen. To fight this current, he then studied the Quran with a focus on finding errors in the Holy Book. The same as other books, he believes that the Quran must also have weaknesses. Apart from that, its aim is to convince Muslims that Islam is a wrong religion, while at the same time wanting to elevate the status of Christianity. However, before studying the Quran, he read Islamic books written by Orientalists. When reading these books, Gary could not let go of his critical attitude as a scientist. He concluded Orientalist conclusions that often cornered the teachings of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. How could a prophet whose teachings were worldwide be called insane? Is it possible that the figure of the Creator's messenger who carries and spreads the divine message is living an abnormal life? Such conclusions are completely unreasonable. Gary ignored it. Gary wanted the truth. If Muhammad was a good and intelligent person, why did he have to lie to claim this prophethood? Or, if the apostle was crazy, said Gary, how could he possibly understand divine revelation? Not satisfied with Orientalist books, Gary studied the most accurate source of Islamic teachings, namely the Quran. As a result, he was even fascinated. Gary started studying the Quran to look for scientific and historical errors in the Muslim holy book. As time went by studying the Quran, everything he expected could not be found in the Quran. In the end, he was amazed at what he found. In fact, he actually found various kinds of knowledge that were not found in books in this world. He hoped to find in the Quran such events that were difficult for the Prophet Muhammad, such as the death of Khadijah, his wife, or the death of his sons and daughters. But to no avail, he didn't get any of that. One thing that added to his confusion was that he found in the Al-Quran a complete letter called the Maryam letter, containing about Maryam's self-glorification, which is not found in parallel in Christian books or in the Gospels. He did not even find in the Quran a letter with the name Isaiah or Fatima. Likewise, he found the name Isa mentioned 25 times in the Quran, while the Prophet Muhammad was not mentioned, but only 5 times. Next, he continued to read the Quran carefully and slowly, more intensely than before, in the hope that perhaps he would find some mistakes that would support his mission in converting Muslims and inviting them to Christianity. But suddenly he was knocked to his knees by an extraordinary verse. Gary discovered several verses from the Quran that actually moved his heart. He began to doubt that he could find errors in the Quran. As stated in the letters, An-Nisa verse 82 and Al-Baqarah verse 23. The verse reads, "Then don't they appreciate and study the Quran? If the Quran were not from Allah, they would surely find many contradictory things in it. And if you remain in doubt about the Quran which we revealed to our servant Muhammad, make just one letter like the Quran and invite your helpers besides Allah, if you are truthful people." Dr. Miller commented on this verse by saying, "Including the basis of modern science, as it is known as knowing or calculating errors in theories until they are proven to be true. This is what is called a falsification test. What is surprising is that the noble Quran gives Muslims and non-Muslims the opportunity to look for mistakes, but all of them do not get it." He also said about this verse that there will not be on this earth a writer who has the courage. He composes a book and then states that in the book there are no mistakes at all. However, the Quran dares to state it, and it is true that there is no error at all in it. He stated that the elements contained in the contemporary Catholic encyclopedia were actually written in the Quran. Despite the many studies, theories, and assumptions that doubt the authenticity of the contents of the Quran, he is convinced that nothing is as logical as the Quran. In fact, he did not think that what the Church itself had were theories from some Muslim theories in the Quran. This then made him fully believe in the last book of Allah's revelation. Another verse researched by Dr. Miller is Surah Al-Anbiya verse 30. And do the disbelievers not know that the heavens and the earth were once one whole? Then we separated the two. And from water we made everything living. So why don't they also believe? This verse made him stunned, and then commented that this verse was actually the theme of a scientific research whose author received the Nobel Prize in 1973. The theory of the big explosion, which states that this nature existed as a result of a big explosion, which ultimately created the sky and celestial bodies. Apart from the meaning of all the contents in the Quran, Dr. Miller was very impressed with the style of language used in the Quran. Without the slightest doubt that in the Quran there is an inimitable and fascinating view, which is not found anywhere else, namely that the Quran gives you information about certain things, he said. He said that there is not a single book from the religious holy books that speaks in a language like the Quran. All other holy books are collections of information that tell humans where the information came from. For example, the Bible is distorted. When talking about the stories of ancient people, it tells its readers, for example, King Fulon lived in this place, and the leader was killed here in this battle. There is also another person, he has children, his name is so and so and so and so on. However, the Bible always tells its readers, if you want to know more, you can refer to this and that book, because this story is quoted from there. Tell you that the information is new. In fact, sometimes readers of the Quran are asked to review it again if they experience doubts about the truth of the Quran in a way that cannot possibly originate from human reason. Feel amazed by the contents of the Quran. He then decided to convert to Islam, and through lectures and other activities, he began to invite other people to join him on the right path. One of them was a lecture he delivered entitled The Amazing Quran. He is very famous for his audio lectures, which discusses Islam and the Quran, rebuttal of Christianity, and other topics. The most interesting thing about him is the use of simple and short